You're listening to Psych to Parent, where we turn brain science into tiny wins at home. I'm Dr. Amy, your not-so-typical school psychologist, mom of two, and endurance athlete. I love a good data set and a diagnostic manual. But I also forget permission slips, overthink IEP emails, and occasionally replay the moment I snapped at my kids in the car. In other words, I'm in the messy middle with you, not above it. This show is for parents of big feeling, big thinking kids who are tired of vague advice and Pinterest perfect behavior charts. Each episode, I'll pull back the curtain on what I see in real evaluations, school meetings, my private practice, and my own kitchen, and translate the research into simple scripts, tiny routines, and nervous system friendly tweaks you can actually use. Think of it as a nervous system rehab meets mindset coaching meets a smart, slightly spicy, non-judgy friend in your earbuds. We'll take one real life challenge at a time and shrink it down into 1 or 2 tiny wins you can start this week. No perfection, no 47-step sticker systems, just small, repeatable shifts that add up over time. Quick legal-ish note in plain English. This podcast is for education and support. It's not therapy, it does not create a clinical relationship, and it's not a substitute for personalized medical or mental health advice. If you're worried about your child's safety or mental health, or your own, please reach out to a trusted professional. Okay, deep breath, drop your shoulders. You're not behind and you're not alone. Let's get psyched to parent. You're sitting in the parking lot of your kid's school, and the first thing you can feel is the seatbelts strapped across your chest. Tight, maybe a little too snug, like your body is already bracing. You slowly unclick it and hear that click. And it's such a small sound, but it feels loud because you're on edge. You look over and your phone lights up with a notification. Meeting starts in 10 minutes. And it's only 8:30 in the morning, but you feel like you've already done a whole day. Drop off, packing lunches, trying to get yourself together because you have to go to work right after this. And now you're here, parked in the school parking lot, trying to act like you're fine. And your brain is doing that thing where it won't let go. Did I fail my kid? Did I fail my kid? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Because you don't know what they're going to say. Are you going to talk about reading, behavior, retention? Are you about to hear a bunch of data that matches the worry you've been trying not to say out loud? And there's this extra layer that makes it so much heavier. This isn't just a student. This is your kid. So if you've ever sat in that parking lot with your nervous system on full spin cycle, today I'm giving you a 6-minute prep you can do right there in the car. It's called the sticky note method. 6 steps, 1 sticky note, so you walk in clear, grounded, and able to ask for what your kid needs without bringing your dissertation and without leaving the meeting thinking, wait, why didn't I say the thing? Because here's what I know about parents of strong-willed, big-feeling, big-hearted kiddos. You have thought about this. You've replayed the email. You've replayed the comment in the portal. You've replayed the tone in that one sentence that felt a little pointed. You know what sentence I'm talking about. And you're tired. You're busy. You don't have time to become a part-time case manager just to survive a 20-minute meeting. Let's do it together. Hey, welcome back to Psych to Parent. I'm Dr. Amy, school psychologist and parent coach. And today we're talking about school meetings without tears. And I want to be clear. I don't mean you'll never feel emotional. If you cry in a meeting, you're not disqualified from being a competent parent. You're human. What I mean is, you can feel what you feel and still walk in with a plan. By the end of this episode, you'll have a 6-minute sticky note prep you can do in the parking lot, a simple way to share what you're seeing at home without spiraling or over-explaining, a couple school language translations so you don't get stuck in vague statements, scripts for the moment your brain goes blank, and a way to leave with a concrete next step, not let's wait and see. And I'm going to weave in some research-backed best practices you'll recognize from parent-teacher conference and advocacy toolkits. Not in a let me cite 14 studies for you kind of vibe, but in a you're allowed to do this and it works kind of way. Before we get tactical, let's normalize the messy middle. Because if your body is bracing, it's not because you're dramatic. It's because this is high stakes. This is why school meetings can feel so hard. And that makes sense. If school meetings make you teary, shaky, angry, blank, or weirdly chatty, that doesn't mean you're too emotional. It means you're a parent walking into a high stakes room, because this isn't just a meeting. It's your child's learning, your kid's identity, your kid's confidence, their future. At least the future your brain is imagining at 8:30 in the morning while you're sitting in the parking lot. And there's a power dynamic at play too. Even when everyone is kind, the school has roles and acronyms and systems. You have your kid's entire lived experience. And honestly, a lot of parents are walking into these meetings carrying their own school stuff, old experiences, shame, maybe feeling misunderstood, feeling like they had to behave to be safe, feeling like they were labeled, feeling like they weren't believed. So when your kid is having a hard time at school, it pokes your nervous system in a very specific place. That's not a weakness, that's being human. Also, can I say this slightly spicy thing? Sometimes we go into these meetings trying to prove we're not that parent, the one who's too much, the one who's, quote, difficult. So we overfunction. We soften everything. We apologize. We make it smaller than it is. But your child doesn't need you to be easy. Your child needs you to be clear. And clear can be kind. Clear can be collaborative. Clear can be grounded. So I want to say this clearly. You're still learning and growing. And by showing up for your kid and doing the hard things, you're proving to them and to yourself that you aren't failing. Failure would just be letting it happen. Now, if you've ever left a meeting and thought, why didn't I say a thing? There's a brain reason for that. Here's the brain part about why your brain goes offline. When something feels high stakes, like you might be judged or your child might be misunderstood, your nervous system reads that as a threat. And when your nervous system is in threat mode, your thinking brain gets quieter. It shows up as forgetting what you plan to say, losing your words, over-explaining. Maybe it's people-pleasing or freezing in the moment, or getting emotional in a way that feels sudden and confusing. So if you walk out of the meeting and think, I sounded like I didn't even know my own kid, no, what happened is this. Your nervous system just took the wheel and your brain took the back seat. And this is why a short prep works. We're not trying to become a different person. We're giving your brain a track to run on so you can stay clear enough to advocate for your child. Also, this is why you might feel like you're either going to cry or you're going to talk for 11 straight minutes. Same reason. Your system is trying to manage threats. So today we're going to do two things. First, help your body come down just enough to think. And two, help your words stay simple enough that you can actually use them in the room. And that brings me to a little school's like in your back pocket kind of moment, because this is where parents deserve more power than they realize. Okay, picture me sliding a sticky note across the table. Here are 3 truths I want you to carry into any meeting. Truth number 1, data is information, not a verdict. So you can ask, what's the trend across weeks? Not one rough day. Because one hard day might be bad sleep, a substitute, a fire drill, a fight at recess, a new unit in math, a change in the routine. It matters, but it's not the whole story. Truth number 2, patterns matter more than single moments. So you can ask, when is it hardest? Time of day, task, type of activity, transition. Because if the pattern is after lunch or during writing or during unstructured time, that points us toward supports that actually fit. Here's truth number 3. A plan without measurement is just hope. Hope is lovely. We love hope, but we also want a plan. So you can ask, what will we track and when do we review it? And when I say plan, I mean it includes 5 things. What support, who owns it, when it starts, what data we're tracking, and when we meet again. Because when the school might say, we'll keep an eye on it, it can sound comforting and also result in nothing changing. So here's your goal walking into the room. You're not there to prove you're a good parent. You're there to leave with clarity about what happens next. And before we go into sticky, I want to do a quick translator minute here because this is where meetings tend to feel wobbly for parents. So here's the school translator minute when the phrases the school say sound fine, but they stall everything. Two phrases can derail an entire meeting if we don't translate them. Phrase number one, let's wait and see. The translation I hear with that is we're not committing to a plan yet. So you can follow up by saying something like, I'm open to giving it time as long as we're clear about what we're doing during that time. What are we trying for the next 4 to 6 weeks? And how will we measure whether or not it's working? Phrase number two, we'll monitor. The translation often is, we haven't defined what monitoring actually means. So you can follow up and ask, when you say monitor, what exactly does that look like day to day? What are we tracking? How often? And where will it be documented? And then your closer, this one matters. Before we end, can we summarize what we're trying, who's doing what, when it starts, how we'll track it, and when we'll meet again? That line is the difference between leaving with a plan and leaving with vibes. Okay, let's talk about why your home data matters and how you can use it simply. Let's talk about 3 common scenes. Scene number 1 I often hear in practice, the after school crash, when the school says they're doing fine, and then your kid gets in the car and says nothing. And the second you ask, how was school? It's like you lit a match. Shoes go off, backpack gets thrown, and suddenly you're in a 25-minute negotiation about a granola bar. And you're like, bro, it's a granola bar. Why are we here? That's not you being dramatic. That's a nervous system that held it together all day and collapses in the safe place, AKA at home and with you. So they're fine here isn't the end of the conversation, it's the beginning. A better question is this: what does it cost them to be fine here at school? Because a lot of kids, especially kids who are anxious, have ADHD, ASD, or who are just wired intensely, school fine can mean masking, over control, white knuckling, using all their regulation fuel just to keep it together. And then home gets the crash. Scene number 2. Another place where I see this show up is homework time, where you might hear something from the school where they say work completion is inconsistent. And at home, you might experience tears, avoidance, shutdown, explosive refusal, something that should only take 10, 15 minutes for kids in elementary school and battling it out for an hour. You might see perfectionism or hear, I hate this, I'm stupid, I'm never doing this again. So the meeting needs specificity. When does it fall apart? What kind of task? What happens right before? What supports help even a little bit? Another place where this can show up is bedtime or the Sunday scaries. If your child's body is bracing for school, you often see it at the bookends of the day, mornings and night. And that matters because it tells us this isn't only behavior, it's regulation, it's anxiety, it's skill demands, it's nervous system load. And once you see those patterns, you can stop arguing about behavior and start asking the better question. What is the behavior communicating? Let's have a big feeling kid reframe here. Behavior is communication, and that changes the whole meeting. A lot of what gets labeled as behavior is actually communication. This isn't my kid being bad. This might be your kid's behavior saying, I'm overwhelmed. I don't understand. I can't do this with the skills I have right now. I'm protecting myself from feeling embarrassed. I held it together all day and now I can't. And this is why your job in the meeting isn't to defend your kid like you're in court. Your job is to help the team get curious about what your child needs to succeed across settings. And important, being curious doesn't mean being passive. It means we move from, is my kid the problem kind of question to, what supports help my kid access learning and regulate at school? Which brings us to what parents always ask me for. What do I actually say when my brain goes blank? Here's some parenting scripts that you can try. Write them down, maybe on a sticky note, and you can literally read them. Script number 1, when you're flooded and starting to ramble, let me pause. My main concern is blank. And what I'm hoping we leave this with today is this. And yes, saying, let me pause out loud is allowed. It's actually a regulation strategy. Script number 2, when the meeting gets vague, you can say, What specifically will be different for my child tomorrow because of what we decide today? Script number 3, when you hear wait and see. I can do time, but I can't do time without a plan. What are we trying for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and how will we measure it? Script number 4, when you hear we'll monitor. When you say monitor, what exactly are we tracking? How often? And where will it be documented? And here's the relationship protecting line that still has spine. I really want to partner well, and I also need us to leave today with a clear next step for my child. One more line I love because it gently pulls the meeting back onto rails is this: we're not writing a novel, we're leaving with a plan. Now, before we do sticky, I want to give you one tiny move that changes the tone in the room fast. Start with 20 seconds of strengths. Not a paragraph, not a TED Talk, 20 seconds. Try this. Before we dig in and talk about my kiddo today, I want to name what's going well. One thing that I'm noticing at home is that my child has really engaged in athletics and is excelling on his flag football team. What are some of the things that you're seeing my child do well here in school? When you ask this question and bring it up, this does a few things. It reminds everyone we're talking about a whole child here. It reduces the threat in the room, and it signals, I'm not here to fight, I'm here to collaborate. Now let's get to the 6-minute prep, sticky. The sticky note method. Grab a sticky note, one small square, because constraint is the point. If it doesn't fit on the sticky note, it's not for today. I say that with love because I know you can fit a lot into your brain. We're not doing that today, though. Also, you're not trying to be perfect in this meeting. You're trying to be clear enough to move supports forward. All right. S stands for settle your body. 60 seconds. Your feet are on the floor. Relax your jaw, drop your shoulders. One long exhale, like you're fogging a mirror. If your stomach feels like it's doing flips, just name it, oh, my body thinks this is a threat. Then say quietly in your head or out loud in the car, clear, not perfect. T stands for target the goal. One sentence. Right. Today's meeting ends with a support plan and a date we'll review. If you want it even simpler, today's meeting ends with a next step plan we can measure. I stands for input from home. This is where we have 2 bullets max. This is where parents tend to overwork. Respectfully, I love you guys, but you do. Just 2 bullets. Pattern I'm seeing at home and how it's impacting learning and life at home. Optional, only if it helps, is what's helped even 10%. Now, that 10% line is magic because it keeps you out of the complaint lane and in the problem-solving lane. C stands for clarify school data. 2 questions, right? 2 questions. What are you observing at school? Patterns or trends? What supports are in place and what data are we collecting? A bonus question you can ask is, what's the baseline right now? And what would improvement look like in 4 to 6 weeks? K stands for key scripts, where you pick 2 lines. Pick 2 parenting scripts and write them big enough that you can glance at them. Because here's the vignette I want you to picture. You're in the meeting, everyone's being polite. Someone says something like, we're seeing some concerns around compliance during independent work. And your brain goes, what does that mean? Is my kid in trouble? Are they mad? Am I supposed to defend, ask questions, smile, cry, all of the above? And you feel yourself about to launch into this 7-minute background story starting in preschool. You know the one I'm talking about. Instead, you glance at the sticky note and you read, let me pause. My main concern is blank. And what I'm hoping we leave with today is blank. And just like that, you're back on the rails. Y stands for your next step. You want to leave with a plan. Close it down with 5 parts. What, who, start date, data, check-in date. If you want a simple shared wrap-up question, ask, before we end, what are 3 things school will do, 2 things I can do at home, and 1 thing my child will practice? That keeps it shared. It's not all dumped on you or your kid. We're not writing a novel. We're leaving with a plan. Here's a quick researchy moment about why the sticky note method works without boring you with a lecture. A bunch of parent-teacher conference and advocacy resources share the same themes. Write down your priorities and questions ahead of time. Ask your most important questions first because time runs out. Ask for clarification when you don't understand something. Lead with strengths to reduce defensiveness and keep the relationship intact. And follow up afterwards so everyone leaves with the same understanding. That's sticky. Not because I'm trying to create some cute acronym, although, yes, I do love a cute acronym, but because it matches what works: clarity, collaboration, and a plan you can measure. And here's the deeper why that matters for big feeling kids. When adults are aligned, kids do better. When the adults aren't aligned, kids feel it. They may not say it, but they feel it. And they often show it with more anxiety, more behavior, more avoidance, more shutdown. So this isn't about winning the meeting. It's about building a support system that reduces stress for your kid. Okay, now let's talk about two common hard meeting situations. One, the teacher team is rushed, or two, the teacher team gets defensive. Because those happen, I want you to be ready without turning it into a courtroom attorney or a puddle of apologies. So if it's a situation like the team is rushed and we only have 15 minutes, here's what we do. Sometimes you walk in and you can feel it immediately. People are running to the next thing. Someone's checking the clock and you can tell. Someone says, okay, we have about 15 minutes. First, your feelings about that are valid because you rearranged your life for this. But here's the move. You use your sticky note target line. You say calmly, totally understand if we only have 15 minutes. I want to make sure we use them well. My main concern is blank. What I'm hoping we leave with today is blank. Then you ask, what's the most important thing we can decide today that will make tomorrow better for my kid? If they start going wide, multiple topics, lots of updates, bring it back. I'm hearing a few areas. For today, can we choose one priority and decide a next step we can measure? And if you don't get everything covered, you close with, okay, since we're tight on time, can we reschedule a follow-up to finish the rest? I want to make sure we're not leaving things half-formed. That's not being difficult. That's basic project management. And yes, parenting is basically project management plus feelings. Now, there's a different type of meeting you might walk into. Sometimes you say something totally reasonable like, I'm concerned about how hard mornings are, or I'm seeing a big after-school crash, and you feel the temperature change in the room. Maybe someone says, well, we have a lot of students, or we're doing the best we can, or I haven't seen that here. First, I want you to take a deep breath because defensiveness is often stress, not malice. Second, you keep your tone warm and your words firm. Try this. I really appreciate how much you're juggling, and I'm not questioning anyone's effort. I want to partner well. I'm sharing what I'm seeing because I want us to understand the full picture. Then pivot back to curiosity and data. Can we talk about when it's hardest here? The time of day, the task, transition. I'm trying to understand the patterns so we can choose the right support. If someone says, we don't see that, you can say, that makes sense. And it's also helpful information. If my kid's holding it together here and falling apart after school, that suggests it's taking a lot of effort. What supports can we put in place to reduce the load during the day? And if you need the boundary line, you can say something like this. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for a clear plan we can measure. I think one of the most helpful things you can do after a school meeting is have a follow-up email. This is one of the simplest, highest impact things you can do, especially if your brain gets fuzzy after meetings. Within 24 hours, send a short email that says, thank you for meeting today. Here's my understanding of what we agreed on. And you lay out the support, who's doing what, when it starts, the data we're tracking, the date we have for check-in. You can wrap up your email saying, please let me know if I missed anything. Thank you so much for your collaboration. That's it. You're not being annoying, you're being clear. And when things are written down, fewer things get lost in the fog of, I thought you meant, and I assumed, and we'll see. Let's talk tiny wins for this week. Pick one is enough. Tiny win number 1, put a sticky notepad in your car today. Future you deserves it. Tiny win number 2, decide your target goal sentence before you walk into the meeting at school. Tiny win number 3, use one translator line to respond to the school when they say, we'll wait and see or monitor. Tiny win number 4, end the meeting by repeating next steps out loud. What, who, when, data, and the check-in date. Tiny win number 5, send the 5-line follow-up email within 24 hours. Pick one, one's enough. And if your brain is like, I should do all of them, I'm lovingly telling you here right now, nope, just one. If you want this school psych in your back pocket energy in a printable, no thinking required format, grab the free School Psych K-12 in your back pocket. It's linked in the show notes. And if you're not on my Tiny Wins email list yet, get on it, because that's where I send small, doable follow-ups so you're not trying to remember everything with an already full brain. The emails come out every Friday. And one more small favor. If you know a parent who has ever sat in the parking lot rehearsing what to say, send them this episode. Text it, forward it. This made me think of you. That's how this kind of support spreads. Next time you're sitting in that parking lot, seatbelt click loud in your ears, stomach doing the little drop. Remember what you have now, the sticky note, your 2 scripts, the 5-part leave with a plan closer, what, who, when, data, check-in. You're not walking in to perform. You're walking in to build a support plan and ask better questions when the room gets vague, rushed, or tense. We'll keep making the homeschool puzzle less mysterious together, one better question at a time, one same kid different math reminder at a time, one reset before requests after school, one dot log sentence, one email that's clear and firm without being a novel. And the next time you sit at that tiny round table in that tiny chair, remember, schools have expertise and you are the expert on your child. Your insight is not extra, it's essential. You're not behind, you're building a partnership, and you're building skills. Yours and theirs, one small, doable step at a time. Thank you for hanging out with me on Psych to Parent. I'm Dr. Amy, your not so typical school psychologist, and I'm genuinely glad you're here doing this work instead of quietly white knuckling it and blaming yourself. Your tiny win from today's episode is simple. Do not overhaul your entire parenting style. Pick one idea, one sentence, or one tiny shift and try it in a low-stakes moment this week. Then notice what changes, even if it is just by 1%. If you want more support, head over to psych2parent.com. You'll find show notes, simple scripts, and parent-friendly guides that go with these episodes. While you're there, make sure you join the Tiny Wins mailing list so you get weekly brain-based tips, real-life examples from my work with families, and first dibs on new workshops and resources. It's the easiest way for us to stay connected beyond the podcast. If this podcast was helpful, it really does matter when you tap follow or subscribe. Leave a quick review or text it to a friend who is parenting a big-feeling, big-hearted kid too. This podcast is for education and encouragement. It is not therapy, and it's not a substitute for individualized care. If you're worried about your child or yourself, please reach out to a trusted professional in your area. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are building something new, one tiny win at a time. I'll see you in the next episode, probably with a cold coffee in hand, cheering you on.